All right, welcome back, Timeless Jumpers. I am Russi Villalta with my special guest, Mary Beaver, back to speak about the awakening and any of the new stuff. Welcome back, Mary. How are you?
I'm good.
Good, good. Yeah, I feel like some people had a rough week, and I had a good one
Some
at the
people
end of
had a good
mine.
one, right?
And some people had a good one,
A
yeah.
good one.
So
Kind
we're
of
going
like
to
I
talk.
said. No.
Yeah. So we're going to talk today about three things, three subjects that you want to talk about, which is one about the solar eclipse. And this one I don't really understand the reset of portraits with portraits, and then talk about the falling angels. So let's talk about the first one. What was your experience about the solar eclipse, and how do you think it went?
So my observation of it, and I'm sorry, I should have sent you the pictures, but I didn't. We can go over that another time. But my children and I went to a park down the street from our house, and we were in one of the the baseball fields, right? So somebody, I totally felt bad, but I felt pulled like we had to do it anyways. So somebody had just, you know how they sand it, they go over the dirt, and it's all nicely graded or whatever. So my kids and I are walking in circles. And they were like, "What are we doing?" And I was like, "We're going to open the portal." And Leroy was like, "Right on, I want to see a portal." And so then Cora runs over and John runs over, and we're all holding hands and we're walking in a circle. And then we split off at different angles of it. And so there, Leroy turns around and he was like, "Mom, I don't see the portal." And I was like, "No, it's not on the ground." I was like, "It'll be the portal of the two suns." And I was like, "So let's take pictures." So we started taking pictures, and there was this celestial orb that kind of dropped down from the sun,
Oh wow!
and then it was like floating around me. And again, I wished I sent you these pictures, but again, we've been trying to catch up all week.
Yeah, yeah.
So anyway, so you can see the orb coming down from the suns, and then there was like this little blue entity floating around me, and then my son and daughter sat in a meditative circle facing true north, and then one was floating around her, and with my son you could see in one of the pictures the gates opening from the suns, which was the gate of portal. But then in another one that my friend had noticed, she's like entity, like in space. I was like, really? So she's like, yeah, you got to see it. So she zoomed in because I sent it to her, and she can see spirits.
Oh wow! All right.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna send them all to
Yes,
you.
yeah, so come
Oh,
back.
I can't send that one.
I
Okay.
have I'm open. Yeah, I have Telegram open right now. And my cell phone's right next to me. And just so you know, when you talk, and I'm like ready to write down. So just so you know, in Resident Alien,
Okay, sorry.
what you're describing is in an episode of Resident Alien that they landed on the baseball field, and they kept a portal in it, and obviously they didn't want the base. Yeah, it's
Okay.
exactly. It's like crazy.
See, there's something about the baseball
Yeah,
field.
it's because of that diamond.
Remember the Field of Dreams?
Yeah, it's the
I know that
diamond.
they will come.
Exactly. It's a diamond. I can't even
Yeah, it
believe it.
is.
But wow, wow, yeah. I could tell you about seeing people's, we just said that about the past life, the individuals that are
Right?
controlling the area right now in my school system. But yeah,
Yeah.
so very interesting, very cool.
So on the good side, definitely felt like a great boost of energy. But I'm not going to get too into like the explanation, but what I observed with, because it was a healing eclipse, and what I realized was the level of healing that people were going to go through. So those that have been doing detoxes, eating better, exercising, just waking up in their mind the last 4 years, um, are we're gonna get like an energy boost or some kind of, good vibes coming their way. But people who are not awake, and I think this is what they've been talking about the last 4 years or maybe 3 years, and I've even said it. I was like, something's gonna happen, and you may or may not make it through. So what I've seen with my personal situation, like, friends and family and people who've been following me for a while, the people that aren't awake, who might have like addictions or bad eating habits or, just habits all the way around, it's like the eclipse pulled the addiction out of their bodies. Like, for real. I witnessed it coming at somebody, a few people, like a meth addict, like they went to the hospital, they had nothing in their system. Like, it was pulled out, but their body was as if they had been detoxing for a few days, but they had literally done the drug that day. And they were outside in the eclipse. So people who have been on an addictive pattern can't live without the addiction, right? So you can't just detox. And so to me, what I experienced, and a lot of other people are going through it, like their demons were ripped out, the drugs were ripped out, all this stuff was taken away from them if they were outside. So now they're suffering because they healed, the sun healed the toxins from the body, but it did not the tissue. Does that make sense? So
Yeah,
that's what
yeah.
I've been seeing. Like, a lot of people went to the hospital. They couldn't figure out what the heck was going on. Everybody was detoxing in like multiple states. It was crazy.
Wow,
So that
wow.
was my experience, and I was like, oh, okay, we're all healing, but in different ways. So again, we're all in like rehab right now, and those of us that have been awake for a while, we're like the counselors. We've been through it. We know what they're going through, but this was just a sudden crash with everybody. So be gentle.
Wow.
People don't know what's going on right now.
Yeah, yeah. Well, I know I have I have my students and they're all like confused, but I also got, thrown into a classroom, but I watched everybody in panic and fear when it was lunchtime during that eclipse. And I was like, oh my gosh, I went in and went out to go see
Right.
and just get the vibration. And it was like a strong like pull. But I also looked at the sun really quick and I was like, whoa, like I got a little dizzy, but I took a picture of it.
Right.
And then I was waiting for like a lot of friends to send me pictures from the East Coast because yeah, I'm on the West Coast right now. So it's very interesting,
Right.
even just vibration, what's going on with everybody, even my personal friends too, you know, losing animals. They
Right.
lost animals in this whole week. So yeah, very
Right.
interesting.
Well, yeah, a lot of people have been
Yeah.
vaccinating their animals. So
So let's talk about then. So you can add. How do they do the reset with the portraits? Was it portraits you wrote me?
So I was going, and this is funny. I was going through my ancestry, because I wanted to kind of collect all the crests, which is really interesting because I actually have a Christ crest in my family. Um, and it's there's more to it. I found the other documents related to the whole bloodline. They do come from, this one on my side comes from Switzerland. So that was very fascinating. For some reason, they don't. A lot of the stuff is restricted, except for the baptism date. So that was funny. So as I was going through it, and I was pulling down these, pictures of all these sirs and these ladies and these paintings, and I was like, I was thinking about it because I'm also on a few AI platforms where you can create your own art or you can download it and manipulate it to look like different eras, right? And it hit me. I was like, "Oh my God, this is how they do the reset." They introduce us all to this AI technology. We start finagling with our own photos and we turn ourselves into kings and queens and ladies and aliens and all this other stuff, and then they wipe us out, those who were left. They make it look like history because if you go back, I mean, all this exposure, they've got these things, things, carvings on walls with people holding cell phones, driving cars and flying cars. And do you know what I mean? All of it is there. This is like we're at the end of the reset with them.
Yeah, and that's amazing because I am on an AI site, and in my mind, I was like, I don't have my own like thumbnail in a cartoon, and I started thinking this week, well, maybe I should put my face on that AI. I haven't yet,
Right.
but then I got a little like stressed. I'm like, no, because I've seen myself in other like worlds. But if I make that
Hmm.
world for me, I feel like because I'm able to like vibrate to that point, I got a little nervous. But it was literally this week, and we didn't even talk to each other. That is great. Oh my gosh, that you even thought that. Wow,
Right.
it just blows my mind. I can't even begin to tell you. But wow, and it's funny. So I went back to some of our conversations because remember I always notebook it out, and so we talked for the first time was in June 1st. of 2023, and some of these things are coming into play. So we'll have to talk about that
Right?
like privately,
That is
and so
funny.
that you could talk about it, because I have it all down to like a science, how you broke down your life. And so that's why I think it's important that we'll talk about that in the future. But it's so interesting. It's actually playing back to what I read, because you end up telling
Nice.
me about your royal titles. So this
Right.
is perfectly set. Oh my God, you should see my notes on you. I'm like, I gotta ask Mary. And we had a busy week. We didn't get to talk to each other until now. But so now let's talk about the third thing, which I think is very exciting. How we are all fallen angels, and how does that come into play with more of, I guess, the vibrations of our earth healing and all of us healing ourselves. So how does
So,
that come in?
as I've been going through this book of life extension, a lot of stuff downloads, a lot of memories are coming back into it. And the more that I look into the Bible, and believe it or not, I'm actually at church right now, but this is like the only time I'm going to be able to do this podcast. So, because we have a storm out here, and we've got a break in the weather, but I'm not going to be able to come on later. And again, I'm not trying to upset anybody who's extremely religious, but the whole Bible is its own conspiracy. And we know this because it's like, oh, what led up to Jesus's crucifixion? What's this and what's that? As if you go through the book of life to come out of the book of the dead, you get your memories back slowly. And to be honest with you, it is one of those things that if you can't laugh through it, you're gonna cry through it because it can be really upsetting. But basically, the whole earth fell because of the 200 fallen angels that run the world, right? Which could be all these kings. So I have no idea. And but with each kingdom of God that fell, so did the people. And those that resisted were killed because the frequency of fear made them weak. And when you get baptized into Lucifer's kingdom or the fallen angels' kingdom here on earth, that's where you get stuck in the reincarnation. So, and again, I'm not trying to put any fear into anybody. You can undo it. Anything can be undone, right? So, I've never been baptized. I almost got baptized, but it was a marriage to
Me
Lucifer,
too. I
right?
never got baptized. My father was like no to my mother, because they're from Peru and they're very religious. My mom is very religious, but he's like no to the Catholic Church because they were stealing in Peru. The church was stealing from the community. And he's like, no, and I'm not baptized either. Wow.
Right?
Very
Good.
cool. Wow.
Yeah. And I
So
won't let
yeah.
my kids get baptized. I get a lot of, friends and stuff that are like, oh, you should baptize your kids and let them have a choice. I'm like,
Yep.
why don't I wait for them to have their own choice when they're adults and they can
Mm-hmm.
decide? I was like, but I know the truth about the baptism. So the baptism isn't what we think it is. Their
Mm-hmm.
baptism here, because I'm not saying church is bad. I go to church. I love church. I have to feel the presence if I go to church. It doesn't mean that, the pastors are all, really for God, because at the end of it, they throw up their little satanic things going like this real quick. They all do it. I
Yep.
go on their things and watch their recordings. They're all like, rock out, have a good weekend with the horns. I'm like, come on, guys.
Yeah. Yeah.
So they have
Wow.
to give a pledge some way, shape, or form. They're either going to do the triangle, the horns, they're going to do something. I've seen it all throughout the churches. The churches aren't bad. It's just they need the angelic energy in order. They're just plugging us into their spiritual nonsense. So
Mm-hmm.
I'm not saying people aren't for God. I'm just saying that we are still disconnected because of all the hooplari. So
Yeah.
we're all still fallen angels. And until I guess this is our biggest test. And it's come down to the wire. If you can't pledge your allegiance to, creator and creation, then I, I don't know if everybody, those people have to pass away and to be reborn into the new kingdom or the restored kingdom or how that works. I'm going to try to fight for everybody to get a book of life. So that's my thing. I fight for freedom, and the book of life is the freedom. I mean, we'll see what happens at the end of mine, but I
Yeah.
have people working on it. So we'll get there.
Yeah, so it's so interesting because it's even like the last, I would say, decade. There was a lot of shows that are talking about the Book of Life, and one of them, and I actually did a couple of videos on it, on the discovery of witches. They talk all about the Book of Life, and there's some time travel in there, and all the beings and how they entered into Earth, and they're so concerned of who has this book, and that's why they finally pulled together the seasons, like 3 seasons. But also, which is interesting because what you're saying, and I'm very well researched, like things will come to me and I'll be like, why am I going to watch that thing? On YouTube, there's a great outlet. It's Mind Unveiled, and they do speak about how the Bible, the King James Bible version, even in the front
Right.
original cover, is all from the Illuminati, and all the symbols are in there of all the dark side, and nobody knows about those. And these episodes are amazing. I did a 9-hour video with one of their episodes on the homunculus, and that creation of how they put the spirit into bodies that are created. So this outlet is amazing, and I watched so many of them, and they're all perfectly lined up to like what I know, and then all of a sudden I see it and when I feel it. So I think you're on target with everything, and then and spilling all this stuff out is important for everybody to keep moving into that other dimensional state. So yeah, that's amazing. So yeah, very cool. So what do you think your week's gonna look like? Since we're in the April moment, what else is going on? The financial system is another one that I've been hearing, like on the news. Is there any topics like that, you are involved in? Since we talked about our straw man
Well,
account.
so yeah. So when I sent my Book of Life along with the addendums, a copy of it has to go to um, the Federal Reserve Bank of New York. And the first time I
Mm.
sent it, they received it, and then the next morning it was unreceived. So, and I sent it certified. So this time I had to make another copy because it was lost, and I sent it registered and insured it to 5,000. Um, and it was actually received. So what the New York Federal Bank is that's where they keep your straw man trust account. So
Mm.
that needs to be closed, and an accounting needs to come from that, and then it goes to the custodian of the alien property, which is the Fed, and they have to do an accounting and close it out and send me a copy of
Oh,
everything. And then that's what I take with the final book to the military. So I mean, it could change, who knows? But if it's getting crazy over here and I've just taken on the world banks, yeah, I don't know what that's going to look like, right?
oh
So
wow.
I might need a lot of veteran support, wink, wink, ones that didn't take an oath in the Illuminati's. So those would be the better ones to have around.
Oh
But
wow.
yeah, hopefully it doesn't come down to a war situation. But that seems to be what happens when an heir claims their dynasty. War starts in that country, and everybody's trying to snatch and grab the heir so that they
Mm-hmm.
can control that whole government system.
So yeah, I have to look at some of my dates because I have seen, like I said, I've seen. I'm gonna have to say maybe 3 or 4 times I was in some kind of running away from bombs and fires. A whole entire fleet of ships came and attacked an entire town where I was trying to stop it, and whoever I was with. I have characters that play in my little world. One of them is John Hamm, but he was the one who told all 5 ships to stop, and they came out with a red beam, and he would just put his hand up. And the thing that drove me crazy in that show, Moonfall, came out, and there's a beam where they get a download, and he gets all memories of what happened in the past. The ending of Moonfall is excellent, and they explain the technology that takes over. It's very short. I don't know if you've seen Moonfall. You know how we always talk about movies, but
I
it's bringing me
haven't.
back to how
Yeah.
you're talking about this war is probably in the makes right now. Yeah, so I could see that happening. I still see you in the castle
Yeah.
though, like, and every time I drive through the strip, no joke, I see the pyramid, and then they have the two, it's the Mandalane, I think. I don't even get them right because I'm really not from Nevada. And Delano, there are two golden gates to get into the strip. And I always think about you on that castle theory because I'm like, oh my God, they literally play it over and over and over. So yeah, you're on mark with all these things. It's like you're like this character that I looked at and now you're alive. So that's just so euphoric for me in that sense that I'm just like, wow, this is amazing that things are really true and these story tells are true, you know? I see a lot of Game of Thrones in you too, honey, so don't forget that part. I do see a lot of that.
I have a crest, weirdly two of them that have the dragons on them. So
Oh, really?
I had
We didn't
those are the
talk.
only two
Oh
that,
my
yeah.
God. Holy cow. Well, I never talked about that. This is the first time because every time you talk, I see all these pictures and I'm like, oh, talk about that. So that's pretty amazing. Oh my God, we didn't even talk about that. That is crazy. Totally crazy. I mean, I'm seeing another individual you're talking to. Are you going to be on his podcast?
Oh, yeah, on the 17th, yeah.
Okay, yeah, they're just telling me right now to talk about that, and they just showed me his face. So you'll be on another podcast, which I think is important. On what date?
The
On another.
17th of this month.
So this is this week. I mean, we covered our three things. Is there anything else you want to speak about or remind the public on? Stay positive is one of my big things.
Well, I have a lot to talk about, but the heavens are blocking me. They're like, yeah.
Okay, so all right, so I'm going to scratch that. I'll delete that. All right, so Mary will be on another podcast. I'll make sure I put that in my description of where she is, and I'll add that in the middle of the week. So once again, thank you so much, Mary, for our insight on the Great Awakening.
Welcome.
And I hope to talk to you soon. So definitely don't forget, send me those pictures so we can get that in there. And for anybody else, like and subscribe, and I will see you soon, Mindless Jumpers. All right, have a good day.